Hello, welcome back. This is part three of the teaching on Naaman and the little maid, in which in the other two videos, I stressed a point that uh, the star in this story is the little maid, not Naaman. It was the little maid that got all of this stuff started. And it had if it had not been for the little maid opening her mouth to witness, there would have been no healing. There would not have even been a talk about Naaman, period. Although he was a mighty man of valor, a great man, and an honorable man. So when we left off, Naaman had gotten his healing. And he had gone to Elijah and offered Elijah all of these gifts that the king had given him to give to Elisha, which was silver, gold, and some garments. And I believe the total amount of the gold and silver was $77,370. That does not even include the garments that were sent. So, and we know, of course, that Elijah refused to take the gifts because he didn't do the miracles did not happen for him to be paid. So he just did not accept it. So now, here we come to Gehazi, who was Elijah's servant. Okay, so Gehazi thinking in his mind, look, the prophet has done a marvelous thing. He has healed Naaman of his leprosy. But that was not Elijah's gift. That was not Elijah's miracle. That was God's miracle performed by Elisha. And so he got upset. He really got upset because nobody got paid. Of course, possibly if Elijah had gotten some goodies, then, he was probably going to break Gehazi off a piece of something too. We know how that goes. But Gehazi got upset. And this is what he said in chapter 5, verse 20. But Gehazi, the servant of Elijah, the man of God, said, behold, my master hath spared Naaman this Syrian, and not receiving at his hands that which he brought. But as the Lord liveth, I will run after him and take somewhat of him. That's exactly what he did. So Naaman, on his way home, happy on his way, elated about his healing, ready to go back and do whatever he had to do, Gehazi ran to catch up with him. And of course, Naaman heard him coming, so he jumped off the chariot and went to meet him. And this is Gehazi's story. And I'm going to make some points about him. He said, look, he said, Elisha changed his mind. There are two sons of prophets that have come to town. And Elijah wants you to give them 2 talents of silver each. And he wants you to give them 1 talent each of silver. And he wants you to give them of two garments, changes of garments. Naaman, so happy to be healed, didn't even give it a second thought. Okay, here you go. Not only one, I'm going to give you 2 talents. They're going to get, the two prophets are going to get 2 talents each and 2 garments. Okay, so he packed them in the bag, 2 separate bags, the silver and the garments. And Gehazi was on his way. But look what happened. This is what happens when you have people that are working with you who don't have the heart that you have. They do not have the heart that you have. Their motives and intents are not your motives, and they are not your intents. So you need to check it out. Sometimes we won't know that we are working with such people until they actually performed, like Gehazi perform. We don't know. We just work with them, and we work with them in hopes that they have the same vision that you have, that they have the same goals that you have, that they have the same intent that you have. In this case, something happened with Gehazi, and I believe it was greed. I think greed was in him all the time. Listen, number one, he lied on the prophet. He lied on Elisha. How many men of God are working in ministry with men that are going behind their backs lying on them? How many? How many? Who are undermining them? How many? And who are making them look bad and looking double minded? How many? There's nothing new under the sun. This was not the first time this had happened with a man of God, and I declare unto God, it has not been the last, because this stuff is going on right now. Number two, he scammed Naaman. Naaman got scammed. He got scammed because of his enthusiasm about having been healed. He wasn't thinking, he didn't have discernment, he didn't know. And you can't blame him or fault him for it, because what you're looking at is a man who was working with a prophet who was the cause of him getting healed from something that was going to take him up out of here, going to cause his death. So he trusted this man because the man worked with the man of God. He said, I guess he was saying to himself, hey, the man of God is true. If he's true, then this man that's working with him, he has to be true also. So he had no problem. As a matter of fact, he said, no, I'm not going to give him just one talent. I'll give him two. But Gehazi, like some people, they think they're smart, but they're stupid. All of the things that the king gave Naaman to give to the king of Syria gave Naaman to give to the king of Samaria, this is what was on the chariot. Remember all of that gold and all of that silver and 10 garments? And he only asked for two each. He only asked for one talent of silver. How much did that amount to? $3,840 total of silver that he asked for, instead of $77,370. He would, you know what? Like they say, if you're going to go to hell in a Cadillac. But no, not a Cadillac now. We got big time cars now. If you go in hell, you go in there riding the top of the line cars. But what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his soul? So you know what? If he had asked for a half a talent, it was going to get him the same results. And we're going to talk about it later. But that's what he did. He scammed Naaman out of only 2 talents each for those sons of prophets and 2 changes of garments. It wasn't even worth it. But he scammed him out. He was a scammer, a liar and a scammer. Well, he lied and he scammed. And he disrespected the prophet. He disrespected the position of the prophet. The prophet was a true man of God, and you're making him look like a criminal. You're making him look like he's double minded. Oh, he changed his mind. There's some men that have come to town. These men were already in town. There was a school of the prophets going on. They were building a building. They were going to build a building, because the building that they were in for the school of prophets was too small. That's what I gather from the story and from chapter 6, if you continue to read. So what he did was he disrespected the prophet. made the prophet look like, oh, he changed his mind. He changed his mind. Are you double minded? Or did the prophet just change his mind? Well, you know what? Uh, I do need something. These sons of prophets have come to town. That was not a good look. But Naaman, so excited, not critical of anything or anybody, he gave him exactly what he wanted and more. So Gehazi, he did bad. That was very bad what he did. He lied on the prophet. He scammed the captain of the Syrian army, and he disrespected the prophet. That was absolute and total disrespect. How many men of God are working behind the scene and getting paid riding the coattail of their pastor or the prophet, using their name to get what they want, using their names to prosper? Although they're not lying directly like Gehazi lied, but what you're doing is you are using their names, you are scheming, and you are using their names to profit. You're profiting off of their names. That's what you're doing. You know what? God sees the intent of your heart. You may get away, but you won't get by. They think they're getting away, but they're not going to get back because God sees the motives of your heart. Just like he saw Gehazi. The difference in them and the difference in this story with Elijah, Elijah was a prophet. And he knew exactly. See, that's the difference in a lot of these men that are calling themselves prophets. They don't even know what's going on behind their back. Some of them do, but some of them don't know. Some of them don't care. So they're going behind their pastors, their prophets, these men of God who are leaders, and they're profiting off of them. Bad, 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 bad. So Naaman loaded him up, 2 bags, one for each son of the prophets, lined him up, and sent him on his way. No questions, no hesitation, no reservation. Didn't have an inkling, thought, or idea that he was being scammed. He was being scammed by a prophet's servant. That's a very serious thing. And even if Elisha had not perceived or did not get a word from God that this was going on, God saw it. He was looking at it. And Gehazi was going to reap what he sowed, whether the prophet knew about it or not. We don't know a whole lot of things that people are doing against us, saying against us behind our backs, talking about us to people that don't even know us. We do not know some of these things. We know because God shows us. And I'm going to do some videos on dreams and visions, how God will warn you, show you people who are working against you. He's shown them to me. Showed them to me. I had no idea. Didn't have an idea then. And wondered what was it. But God revealed it to me. Yes, he did. And he will do it. So this is going to be a very short video. This is part 3. But part 4 is coming up. And we're going to get off into the climax of this story right here. And it has a very sad ending. And I hope that it is a lesson that we can learn uh, about witnessing, pride, arrogance. And he also betrayed Elijah. He betrayed him. He betrayed him in the worst way. That was betrayal. These lessons are always taught with a moral and a spiritual principle. They are principles. And I know it's the Old Testament, But there are so many principles. A lot of preachers don't like talking about the Old Testament, but there are so many things that we can learn, so many principles, so many rules, so much moral. I know morals, good morals are not going to take us to heaven. I know they're not. But be a person of integrity, if nothing else. Be a person of integrity. Gehazi lost all, he had no integrity. If he had any, he would not have betrayed uh, uh, Elijah, the prophet, the way he did. So I thank you for listening. I pray to God you got something and is getting that you are getting something from these lessons. And until the next video, you be blessed. And I'll see you in the next video.